Welcome to Visionaries Global Media, your number one source for podcasting entertainment. Visionaries Global Media, envisioning excellence on a global scale.
Band from Ringside. Tonight on the Band from Ringside podcast, we have your all-in recap, your Bash at Berlin predictions, your NXT No Mercy predictions. Jon Moxley is back, R.I.P. Sid Justice, and Joey O'Farrell is on the show to discuss From Dusk Till Dawn 2. That and a whole bunch more tonight on the Band from Ringside podcast.
Menage a Quattro. We should have saved that shit for the pod. God damn you, Zach.
Ditch that 9 to 5. It's time to feel alive. Hello, Mark. So welcome to the Band from Ringside podcast. As always, I'm your host, Bill Vangie, a.k.a. Oba Semi. And sitting directly across from me, we have Jason Cornelius Bell. What's going on, JCB?
Carry on my beaver, son. There'll be shrapnel when you are done. And on that lovely note, I'll ask the congregation to bow their heads as I read from the latest edition of the Band from Ringside podcast, volume 375, chapter 3, verse 14. And the good smart saith, hashtag boo the heels. It's all good, baby. Listen, share, subscribe, repeat the holy trinity of BFR. Plenty of predictions, recap on All In, but more importantly, my man Tinder Mahal is back.
The Pete Best of Band from Ringside. And out there in Portland, Oregon, we have two beers, Zach Coleman. What's going on?
PTO.
We have two beers, Zach Coleman. What's going on, two beers, Zach?
They're back in the house.
Oh, man. Back in the saddle. I'm about 5 beers and an edible beef, so just call me Alistair Black out here. I can't wait to...
That's a better
wake up tomorrow, listen to the pod, and see what the hell I had to say.
And coming at us from beautiful South City, Missouri, we have the man in charge of the upcoming wrestling event From Dusk Till Dawn 2, September 14th at Pop's Nightclub. Doors at 6, event at 7. Tickets available at popsrocks.com. We have Joey O'Farrell, a.k.a. Tinder Mahal. What's going on, Joseph?
You got honey in your voice tonight, J Bell.
So we wanted Joe to come back on, as this is quite the tradition we have going on now. Joey is a wrestling promoter now. He used to just be a guy who we went to his house to watch wrestling events, and now he's a guy that books wrestling events. So, Joseph, why don't you tell us about From Dusk Till Dawn 2 happening on September 14th at Pop's Nightclub?
So, thank you, Bill. From Dusk Till Dawn 2 is, obviously you guys were the first From Dusk Till Dawn. But From Dusk Till Dawn 2 is special because this is the first co-promotional event I've done. So this is Grandel Wrestling, which is my company, and Pro Wrestling Epic, which is ran by a gentleman named Lenny Mephisto. He runs all over he runs in St. Louis from time to time, and he runs all over the Illinois area. And he's a great promoter, works really hard. And I've been looking for a reason to partner with him, and I thought this show was a perfect time. So we're kind of putting our heads together and planning the show out, and I'm really excited to kind of show you guys what we could do.
Well, that's really exciting. How long have you and Lenny kind of been circling on this?
I would say probably about 6 months. He worked the Grandel Wrestling show back in March. He was in the 6-man ladder match, and he didn't win it, but I think he was probably the star of it. And we kept talking, and he's kind of the guy in this area as far as, like, if you're a wrestling company, you probably rent a ring from him or rent his guardrails, or he helps you in some way, shape, or form. And he's just a really good guy, and I think his company is on the up, and I'm just happy to be a part of it with him.
Yeah, I was looking at this card. I asked you to send me the card because I knew some of the matches that were coming, but the one that catches the eye, and this might be because I am not as in tune with the local wrestling as I am with, national promotions, but you do have Heath Slater on the card here. Heath Slater is your PWE Interstate Championship match, so let's start there. Heath Slater versus Camaro Jackson for the PWE Interstate Championship match. Joey, why don't you tell us about what's going on here?
Yeah, so Pro Wrestling Epic brought Heath Slater in a few months ago, and he ended up winning the Pro Wrestling Epic Interstate Championship, which he will be awarded a brand new, shiny new belt the night of our show. And, me and Lenny kind of talked about it, and we're like, we really need a main event for the show. And we kind of went back and forth with some people, and I was like, why not just bring in Heath Slater? He's one of your champions. He's a known wrestler, and I think him and Camaro could have just a fantastic match.
Yes, Camaro Jackson, a.k.a. the Quad Father. So they are fighting for the PWE Interstate Championship match. I gotta think that's going to be the main event, right?
Yeah, it'll be the main event for sure.
And have you talked to Heath Slater? I wonder about his kids from time to time.
So I have not spoken with Heath Slater, but Lenny has, obviously. I let Lenny handle all that, and I just heard nothing but good things about him. I heard he's a total professional. He is, a lot of times when you book these big national names, they'll maybe like post your stuff, like share a story or something. He's collaborated on everything we posted on social media. He's just been so great in promoting the show. I know he's very good about when people come up to him at the show. He talks to everybody. He signs autographs, takes pictures, and works really hard. So I'm excited to meet him in person, and I'm really excited for this match.
Well, as I've known for about 3 years, and Zach's known for much longer than me, you got to work hard when you got kids. He's got to feed those kids. Joey, do you remember when Heath Slater used to have that gimmick about I got kids?
Oh, I do. I worked at the WWE when he had that gimmick.
I feel like Joey's no-selling me on the I got kids stuff. Like trying to get it over again. We got Davey. We got Davey Vega versus Xavier Walker. Tell us about this match, Joe.
So Xavier Walker, he's a 6'7", built like a Greek god, fantastic wrestler from Michigan. I had him come in. If you've seen Glory Pro in the past 3 years, you've seen Xavier Walker work. He's part of that crew with Rohit Raju, Jake Something, Karam, and he's just a fantastic talent. He could go to any company any day now. And Davey Vega is just somebody. This is kind of like the Grandel wrestling match, because I wanted one match where I could have two really solid, just fantastic wrestlers come in and have the match of the night, kind of set the tone. Obviously, we know Davey Vega he's been around St. Louis for a while. He is the current reigning AEW champion in Chicago, which is one of the biggest indies. It's been around for, I think, 20, 25 years. Seth Rollins was champion there back in the day. Mm-hmm. Josh Alexander was champion there. The lineage goes on and on. And, obviously he works everywhere in this area. We know him from the Besties, and he's just a fantastic wrestler. I'm really excited. I wanted to have just a knockdown, drag out, kind of fast-paced style match with two guys who can really go, and I think this is the match for that.
I got my eye on that one. For the PWE Tag Team Championship match, the Hooligans versus the New Guys. What should we be looking out for on this one, Joe?
So the Hooligans haven't been around for a while. This is kind of like their comeback. They took a while off, and one of them was doing a lot more than the other. These guys were in Ring of Honor for a little bit. They were a team that was the team to watch in St. Louis for a long time. The New Guys are basically taking over St. Louis tag team wrestling. They've kind of, if you went to my Grandel show, you saw a lot of them disrupting matches, jumping off ladders through tables, doing what's that thing called that Rob Van Dam does? Where he jumps from one part of the ring to the other part of the ring.
Oh, the coast to coast?
Oh man, coast to coast, doing coast to coast. These guys are they're young, they're so insanely talented, they're so much fun to watch, and this is going to be a wonderful match. This is going to be another just fast-paced, high-flying, probably pretty stiff match because the hooligans are in it. So I'm really looking forward to this one, and this will decide who gets the vacant tag team titles.
Vic Capri versus Benjamin Trust. I am not familiar with these two gentlemen, I don't believe, but just looking at the picture that you sent me, Vic Capri looks like he's chiseled out of fucking granite.
So Vic Capri is a Chicago-based wrestler. He's been around since early 2000s. He just had a great match with Suzuki. Just fantastic match. And he's kind of like the indie god of Chicago. He came up with your CM Punks, your Colt Cabanas, and he teaches a lot of different wrestlers in Chicago. But he's been doing more wrestling of late. And Ben Trust actually asked me for this match, and Lenny made it happen. And I'm really excited because Vic's just one of those guys that he can go. He's it's just another match with two guys who can really tear down the house. Obviously, you're not gonna put a jobber against Suzuki when you're bringing Suzuki in and paying him all that money. You're gonna put the best guy you can find, and for Chicago, Vic was that guy. And then you got Ben Trust. Ben Trust, I can't say enough things about him. He is a heel, so I don't want to not kayfabe too much, but he's just a hardworking guy. Oh man, he's a hardworking guy. He gets better every time you see him wrestle. He's wrestled some great wrestlers in the past few years, and the guy works on his body so much. He's another guy that's chiseled from the stone. And I'm looking forward to this one too, because I know these guys are going to go hard, because I know this is a match that Ben's wanted for a long time, and I know how hard Vic works on a nightly basis. So this will be another great match.
A no DQ match for the PWE Powerhouse Championship. We have Lenny Mephisto versus Facebook friend of mine, Nick Natural. Tell me what we should look for in this match.
So, anybody that knows Lenny knows that he's pretty crazy. And we're talking about a guy that went through a bed of nails versus Gary J a few months back and tore his arm up pretty good. And, and if he lands the wrong way, he could probably kill himself. A guy that's I've seen him go through glass. I've seen him moonsault through chairs. I've seen him go through tables. There's no end to what this guy will do to win a match and to give the fans a great show. Him and Nick have a long-standing feud they've been doing over at Pro Wrestling Epic for probably the last 6 to 8 months. So this is just kind of a blow-off of all that. And I don't really think Nick knows what he signed up for. But it's going to be really fun to watch, and it's going to be very painful for both of those gentlemen.
That's a shoot.
But it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Yeah. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch, and I think this will be definitely the match where you might see some blood.
I think Joey's saying you might see some blood means you're going to see some blood. For the triple threat match, the Bill Vegas special triple threat match for the PWE Women's Championship, we have Rachel Armstrong versus Rebecca J. Scott versus Missa Kate, and Missa Kate is your champion here. What's going on with this one, Joe?
Yeah, so, I really wanted to have a strong women's match moving forward here. And Missa Kate came in a few months back and won the title. And, I've been looking around and kind of seeing what different women are doing. Because, the one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to book. We have a lot of wrestling in St. Louis. I don't know if you're aware of this. We have about 30 companies in St. Louis.
I've heard.
That run on a weekly basis. And the biggest thing I don't want to do is I don't want to book the same wrestlers over and over again.
Did you say 30?
So that was a joke,
Okay.
but it's like 8 or 9.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Still, that's a nice little number.
It's still a lot.
But anyway, Missa is one of the best. She's just coming off a big NWA run, and obviously you guys have seen her in St. Louis before with me at the Grandel versus Judy. And Rachel Armstrong has been wrestling at Pro Wrestling Epic since she was 17, 18 years old. She's starting to really hit fire. She's been working for GCW pretty consistently. She's got a match with Jordan Grace next week in Chicago. And Rebecca J. Scott. Now, a lot of people don't know Rebecca. Rebecca wrestles in Chicago a lot. And she's out of New Jersey. But she tag teams with a lady named Megan Bain. I'm sure a lot of people have heard the name Megan Bain. If you haven't, check her out. Rebecca is a phenomenal MMA fighter, kind of MMA trained fighter who wanted to get into wrestling. She's been wrestling for a couple of years now, and it's really grasping onto it pretty quickly. And she's a lot of fun to watch. You're going to see 3 girls go out there and just really put on a show. You're going to see high flying. You're going to see brawling. You're going to see storytelling. You're going to see a lot of things you don't usually see sometimes in triple threat matches. So I think this is one for the ages as far as women's wrestling goes in St. Louis, and I'm really looking forward to it.
And then last but certainly not least, for the PWE Heavyweight Championship match, we have Keith Smith Jr. versus Tyler Copeland. Tyler Copeland is your champion. What is up with this one, Joe?
So Keith Smith Jr. has been in wrestling since he was a kid. A lot of people in the St. Louis area know, like, his father was a wrestler. You can go at South Broadway for a long time. You'll see him at Keith's matches a lot. Keith was like a referee. He was a young boy since he's been like 5 years old. And he's never held a world title. Neither is his father. So this is the first opportunity that Keith's ever had to actually hold the title, or his family for that matter. And then Tyler Copeland's just a machine. He's a great worker. He's a fantastic heel, and he's going to make this match very interesting for sure.
Those are the 7 matches, and that is quite the card. I feel like I say this every time Joey comes on, but if you've never been to one of Joey's shows, they are a tremendous amount of fun. They move quickly. There is not a lot of downtime, and the matches all 100 times out of 100 times deliver. This is a fun event, and Pops is a fun place to go see a wrestling show. Pops is a place where bands play. Hell, it's a bar. It is what it is. I spent a weekend there one night. But Pops is a fun place. So, Joey, where can they go get tickets?
So, tickets are available on the Pops website. If you go to any of our social media outlets, you'll see you can go right to the ticket link there as well. But popsrocks.com, just go to popsrocks.com, find the show, and then click on that, and it's there. Another thing too is we're going to have great production for this. So we'll have the wrestlers coming out of coffins. We'll have the Vampire Girls. We'll have a couple of really special introductions, kind of WrestleMania style stuff. We really do it up big for these shows. So if you're into Halloween, you're into like horror movie things, you're just into having a fun time. This is a little bit different than your normal wrestling show. This is a little, we take it up a notch, so to speak. So definitely come hang out. Tickets are very cheap for this. We wanted to keep the tickets cheap. So it's $15 for GA, and if you want to get front row, it's only $20. So it's a cheap date. It's a good time.
Bring your family.
Come on out and bring your family.
So that is September the 14th at Pop's Nightclub. And, Joey, can I ask you something? Can we pull back the curtain a little bit? And can I ask you maybe a breaking kayfabe question? So when you have an event like this, and Lenny Mephisto is the main booker for Pro Wrestling Epic, and you are going to have a show that is a show where you combine with him. Who does the booking on this?
I know this sounds ridiculous, but I'm probably people probably won't believe it. But we really do it together. I mean, it's really a 50-50 kind of thing. Obviously, with it being a Pro Wrestling Epic show, I want to have his talent on the show. I want to, showcase the best of his guys. That's why we have so many title matches. But we work really well together. We collaborate well, and when we talk about wrestling, we're kind of on the same page. So, and if we're not, it's an easy conversation. So, I think hopefully people will see like, oh man, when these guys work together, they really create something special and fun to watch.
Yeah, man, we are looking forward to it, and I am planning on being there. So, Joey, thanks a lot for joining. Hang out for a second because we're going to Band from Ringside. So I wanted to keep you here while we discuss the passing of Sid Justice, a.k.a. Sid Vicious, a.k.a. Sid Udy, a.k.a. Psycho Sid. So let me get Zach in here first because Sid Justice passed away this week at the age of 63. And Zach, why don't you tell me what your memories are? How do you think that Sid Justice should be remembered in the pantheon of American professional wrestling?
I mean, he was definitely a top guy. He always got big pushes, probably because of his look. He was legitimately, he was a big body guy. Like, he was legit tall as fuck, and he had a great body. And he also just had this, super intensity. Like, whenever I was a kid, I was scared shitless of Sid Vicious and Sid Justice. There was a few guys that could, kind of do that, whenever I was a little kid, that could actually kind of frighten me. And he was definitely one of them. I joked around, I said, R.I.P. top wet guy, because he was always wet, very wet. Yeah, he was always, I don't know this, statistically, I don't know, how big of a draw he was, but he held titles in every promotion that he was in. He was always at the top of the card. Great power bomb, good athlete, pretty good worker in an era where you didn't really have to be, especially where he looked like that. But I think history will look pretty fondly on Sid Vicious, even if Arn Anderson doesn't.
Jason, thoughts about the passing of Sid Vicious?
For me, as a Horseman guy, he was the heavy for the Horseman there for a hot minute, so that was really my introduction to him. Him, I think, and Dan Spivey, I think, were the Twin Towers there for a little bit in WCW. So just between those two introductions, that kind of got him on my radar. Obviously, he goes to WWF at that point. You put him against Taker, Hogan, the big guys there. It's hard not to have positive memories of Sid Vicious, for me, Sid Justice, whatever you want to call him. I always thought it could have been more, but in the era of Hulk Hogan, it's like being in the era of Michael Jordan. And, he's lucky he got to be the champion in that time frame. So for that matter, I loved the fact that he was a Horseman because, like I said, I am a Horseman guy. That was a nice iteration with him behind the scenes. But when you put him up front, like Zach said, it didn't take away from that shine either. Hell, it actually got him over, especially when you put him against Taker, Hogan, two of the biggies in the early 90s.
Joey?
Yeah, there's not really much more to say about it. Honestly, I think Zach and J-Bell said it all. But I did hear a story about him recently that I thought was pretty cool. I saw this clip of RVD talking about having a match with him early on. I can't remember who the other wrestler was, but basically RVD and this other wrestler were getting squashed by Sid Vicious. I'm not sure if it was a WWE or WCW, probably WCW. And Sid Vicious came back after the match, and said, "Hey, I just want to thank you guys for putting me over like that, making me a monster, because, if everyone sees me like a monster, I can go to WWE and I can wrestle Hulk Hogan. And I can do something, and he handed them $20 each for putting them over. And Rob Van Dam said, "No one's ever done it for me in my life. No one's ever thanked me for something like that, and then gave me $20 for it." You know, and they were young boys; they weren't anything. But I thought that was really cool. Obviously, I think Sid will go down as like a top guy, but I think the reason you don't think about him like you do a Shawn Michaels or a Bret Hart or an Undertaker, and this isn't dishing them, but he was a guy that liked his family time. He liked to be with his family. He liked to have his own time to do whatever he wanted to do. You know, there's the infamous joke about him playing softball all the time. we know about that, and it's kind of like a Terry Funk, my horse is sick kind of thing. I think it's
every summer.
Yeah, he just wanted to spend time with his family, and and he was very beloved obviously by his family. But I think a lot of people you're going to remember, a lot of the good stuff, like his crazy presence in the ring, and like Zach said before, he was just one of those guys when you turned the TV on as a kid and you'd look in his eyes and you were terrified. You thought you were like actually seeing someone who was psychotic. It wasn't like a work, it was like, oh, this guy's fucking.
He was the master and the ruler of the world.
Okay.
And you thought he believed that.
Exactly. You thought he believed that for sure. It was fucking wild.
But it's funny because, wrestling is a work. But at the end of the day, it's like we'll remember him for, being a badass. But we're also going to remember him for some of the best Botchamania clips of all time. And when it comes to,
I mean, it's hard to think of him and not think of that gruesome leg injury that he suffered on Nitro that one time too. That was on Nitro, right?
Yeah, it was either Nitro or a pay-per-view. But anyway,
that's the grossest injury I've seen in the ring. Like, that's the grossest thing I've seen.
Oh yeah, hands down.
But by all accounts, Sid Vicious was a very gentle soul and a guy that engendered quite a bit of respect from his peers. So, with that being said, R.I.P. Sid Vicious. We haven't talked a lot about Psycho Sid on this podcast, but he was a real one for sure. So, Joey, any hard sells before we let you go?
Yeah, Saturday, September 14th, Dusk Till Dawn 2 at Pops. Obviously, we talked about some great matches. $15, popsrocks.com. Come hang out. It's going to be a great time. We got some sweet shirts we made for the event. And, real quick, I want to bust this out. The Stellar Hog barbecue joint's going to come. They're going to be doing food the whole night.
Ooh.
Great barbecue place. So we got Strange Donuts on board. We got Southwest Diner on board.
Ooh.
Lots of good sponsors. So definitely come check it out. We're having a big after party at the Field House over at SLU later that night. But yeah, Saturday, September 14th, popsrocks.com. I'll see you guys there.
All right, cool. Thank you, Joey O'Farrell. From Dusk Till Dawn 2,
guys.
September 14th at Pops. Hey, Bo just showed up. Haven't seen you in a while. Bo, what's going on? What's crappening?
Not a whole lot, my man. What's going on with you?
Not much.
Yeah,
Just doing some podcasting?
Yeah, man, I've been hearing it. I haven't been here in a couple weeks, and, it's not like vacation beer Zach Pullman gets to stick around and do whatever he wants. Bo doesn't make it 2 weeks in a row.
PTO.
And I got Suburban William over here telling, I'm hoping good for him. I appreciate the good wishes, but I'll tell you what, you can take my JCB, you can hug him, you can kiss him, you can take him home with you and fuck him if you want, but you do not get to make him giggle. That is my fucking job, and I just had to come back and let you 3 beanbags know, and all the BFR Nation. I'm sorry that I'm not here every week, But I'm still your biggest vice.
He's fine.
Let's get to that 3 count.
This motherfucker's like, give me this wheel.
All right, JCB, kick it off. What's the 1 count?
Let's talk about All In from Wembley Stadium. I didn't watch the pre-show matches, but obviously the highlight, at least one of the big highlights of the pre-show, was the return of Jamie Hayter. I know we had kind of talked about Jamie Hayter coming back for a match, but her and Saraya did cross paths, which ultimately led to the Harley Cameron match on Dynamite. I'll just talk about that really quick. I thought that was it wasn't a squash, but it made Jamie Hayter look as strong as humanly possible. Ultimately, for me, it's just good to have her ass back. I've been praying to the wrestling gods for God knows how long. Where's Jamie Hayter? And she's finally returned. I'm sure this was kind of done in a way that we're going to do it at Wembley, close to Jamie Hayter's home, so that way she gets the huge pop, which she would have gotten anywhere, I think. It doesn't really matter. But ultimately, Jamie Hayter coming back is, to me, the biggest story of the pre-show.
Zach, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, the return was great. That was really well done. Jamie Hayter looked like a badass. She beat up a whole bunch of dudes and chicks, and sent Saraya packing. And pre-show overall, the only thing of significance was the the mixed tag with Ishii and oh my god, names
Willow
are
Nightingale.
escaping me here.
Willow Nightingale.
Willow Nightingale. Thank you so much. Yes, and of course Chris Statlander and Malcolm in the Middle.
Oh, no.
Malcolm Bivens, what's his name? What's his name? Douglas Hathaway. Yeah, Jesus Christ, I was going to make shit up. But anyway, that match did not go the way I expected. You should have the baby faces going to pick the stipulation for their upcoming match. But overall, the pre-show was very fun. It was about getting a lot of people on the card so they can say that they wrestled at Wembley in front of 2,000 people. So that's what the pre-show was about, really.
16-man tag. That, I mean, can we call that a 3-beer times 2+2 special party match?
I mean, I have to admit I did not watch the pre-show.
No, I didn't either. I was just like, fuck it, let's get it on. So speaking of which, let's get it on. Opens the show. All In is the Trios title ladder match. House of Black, Patriarchy, Blackpool Combat Club / Pack, and who am I missing now?
Bang Bang Gang.
Bang Bang Gang, thank you. This was really feeling about, getting some comeuppance on Christian. That happens early into the match. I thought that was kind of funny where literally everybody decided at one point to jump Christian on the outside, getting a little payback on him. But ultimately the story lies between Christian and Killswitch. Killswitch having an opportunity to snag the titles where Christian decides he wants to grab the glory, which is perfect Christian Cage. I mean, if you couldn't have scripted this any better. Unfortunately for Christian, it does go sideways where Blackpool Combat Club / Pack win the Trios titles. This, for me, is out of right field. It kind of just was a thrown together team, which I'm not necessarily a fan of to begin with. Like I said last week, Cardio and Pac being together on the same team doesn't even make sense. And now you put the cherry on top as far as I'm concerned, and you made them champs. Ultimately, it makes sense when you stop and look at the pay-per-view in its totality, but off the bat, it didn't make sense, at least to book it. The match itself was entertaining enough. It was going to be a car wreck at certain points, and it was. Seeing Cardio swing motherfuckers around like it was, it's not shit. It's always fun to me. I don't care what it is. Pac, I thought, should have gotten his own match, but we'll talk about that on Dynamite as we get to that point. But I thought this was a pretty good curtain jerker of a match.
All three of us had the Blackpool Combat Club and Pac as least most likely to win. Zach, what you think about this match?
Thanks, man. You wrote that shit in.
I thought the match was really fun. Like Jason B said, pretty chaotic. There were many points where I was just watching guys not even unable to take the time to sell big moves because they were just sprinting to get to the next area where they needed to catch another human being with their body. So it was entertaining. Christian coming out and running out and then running back in whenever everybody was down is just so perfect, because I was like, Christian gave us so many classic ladder matches, and he doesn't need to ever do a ladder match again, ever. But it was so smart the way they did everything here. The win really surprised me. It makes sense. Apparently, Pac and the Lucha Brothers were originally supposed to win this, and so BCC is kind of the fill-in for the Lucha Brothers, because they're in limbo right now with they're probably not going to renew their contract. So, regardless of the implications of the booking and all that, this was an entertaining match with a surprise ending, so I can't be mad at it. And I would have been mad if any of you guys would have picked, but we all got 0 points in this. So,
no, we got a point, motherfucker. Damn.
No, we all got 0 points.
Oh yeah. 3,
we
2,
all
1.
picked them, 3, 2, 1, 0. I echo exactly what Zach said. I mean, this was fine for what it was. Had a surprise ending. I expected it to be good. It was pretty good. It was, I don't know. Can you say it was skippable? Was it skippable?
Maybe. Maybe not.
I don't know. Maybe
I played into later. I played into a couple things later in the show. So
I feel like Cornette, but I'm like, man, this they give away too much for free on TV.
I didn't think that, because, I mean, a fourth team makes it unique in that sense. To have 3 titles hanging in the balance, it made it unique in that sense.
Also, could they hang it a little bit higher above the ring? It's like those motherfuckers could have jumped up and got it.
I was getting ready to say, those ladders are awfully short.
I mean, Brody King was getting on the first step and acting like he was tired. It's like
Sid Vicious would have jumped straight up, rammed it, and broke the chain.
Give me this shit.
But Javon Evans could have hopped up there and got it.
Bouncy. He'd have snagged that with ease, no question about it. I do agree with that. I totally forgot about that until you said that. That was definitely something that was just kind of a little weird, to say the least. Next up, you had Mariah May versus Toni Storm for the AEW Women's Championship match. I was definitely intrigued to see. One of the better builds of the last just 2 months, conservatively, and now we have the payoff here at All In. I thought this was a really good bounce back match. I shouldn't say bounce back, but easily better than the curtain jerker. Nice back and forth. You had callbacks on both sides of the fence. I thought for 30 seconds, Toni Storm was getting ready to steal this, especially when she hugged Mariah May's mom after Mariah May, totally just smacked the dog shit out of her own mom. That was just like, oh, this is just perfect heel shit. This is great. But Toni does end up losing. I thought this was so well done, especially the finish, where it was a clean finish. I didn't necessarily want to see fuckery. Everything I thought Mariah did was pretty much on point as far as her character. Her wrestling shined here a little bit. Toni Storm is a perfect foil for her. I don't want to see Toni Storm come back for a little bit. She can take a break as far as I'm concerned. She carried this division for a hot minute. Let Mariah May have some shine for a little bit, but up to this point, obviously, between the two matches, this was the better match. Props to both ladies. Props to Toni Storm for this amazing title run across the board. I don't care what promotion it is. This timeless Toni Storm run can go against anybody, anywhere, anytime in 2025.
It's one of the most elevating title runs that we've had in a really long time.
For sure.
Zach, what'd you think about the match?
Match was a lot of fun. Crowd was into it. I really liked that Mariah made juice. I really liked that she slapped her mom. That shit had me howling. Like, that is some real heel shit. To slap your own fucking mom. Oh, man. So good.
I thought this was the third best match on the card.
It was exactly what it should have been. I'll agree with that. The third best match, yeah.
What was next?
I don't know. Maybe third or fourth. But, yeah.
From one good match, at least from my mind, to almost the complete opposite on the other. Hook versus Chris Jericho for the world title. Just no interest coming into it. Hook pulling the eye patch off towards the end doesn't do much for me. Taz making the save actually was like, oh, okay, that to me was interesting, but unfortunately for me,
put a big smile on my face.
It did, because I was thinking, okay, who's getting ready to come out? And I was like, okay, Samoa Joe, this is perfect. Samoa Joe can come back, make the save, Hook can win, everything's right in the world. But seeing Taz like, you know what, fuck this shit. I've watched my son get beat down long enough. I'm gonna get in here right now and take care of business.
Taz mission
was the perfect way to end a match I had no interest in. At least at that point, I was like, oh shit, okay, now we're talking.
That is honestly probably the only time I looked at the screen while this match was going on. It was when Taz came out.
Yikes.
Like, I watched it, but did I really watch it? I don't know. Zach, I bet you watched it, didn't you?
I did watch it. I did not care about it. It was frustrating from the beginning, just with all the interference. And I know that was like built into the story. I definitely popped whenever Taz got up. Announcers getting involved in matches will always pop me. It just works every time. Daddy Magic jumping into a battle royal and coming back out. Like that later on, we had Nigel McGuinness, which was super dope. But Pat McAfee coming, getting into the Royal Rumble, all this shit, it works every time. And this was that part was fun, but I did not make my prediction here. I thought that Hook would lose and then move away from the FTW title, but that is not the case.
Yeah, like I said, I watched it, but I got nothing.
No, I'm kind of with you on this. I'm
saving all my bullets.
Yeah, that to me, Hook moving away from this title probably would have been the move, but guess I'm wrong. Like a dumbass.
How about retiring it?
Oh, see, now you ain't shit. Triple threat.
Seriously though, like
I'm with you on it.
It's just Hook's title.
I'm with you on it. At this point, it serves no purpose. It hasn't gotten anybody over, including Hook. Sorry, not sorry. That's just how I feel about the shit. Plus, you got 15 other titles. Figure it out. Bill Bailey special for the AEW tag team titles. The Acclaimed versus FTR versus the Young Bucks.
We've seen this done better.
Yeah. Ultimately, yes. I thought this was going to be a lot better of a match. This was one of the matches I was ultimately looking forward to.
But we know that FTR and the Bucks can have a 5-star classic. So what was different about this match?
Here you go.
What could have been different
Go ahead,
about
Three
this
Bear.
match that made it not as good as the other ones?
Go ahead, Three Bear. You going to jump on that trade too?
I don't know. I do think it's funny that Max Caster's gimmick is he's the best wrestler in the world, and he was the 6th wrestler in this match.
And it's not close.
It's not close.
He is far behind, way far behind 4 of them, and kind of far behind Bowens too.
Yeah.
Well,
but this match was fine. The match was fun. People were into it. Acclaimed were not heels in this at all, which I feel like that's kind of the direction they're going. And Caster rapped well, which he hasn't done in a while. So I was not mad about the match, but it wasn't anything special.
What's next?
That's the problem. It wasn't anything special. Grizzled Young Veterans obviously come out post-match. That piqued my interest because that's one of my favorite tag teams that not a lot of people know about. So fingers crossed, Grizzled Young Veterans comes in, gets some rub, and gets that tag team division.
The Grizzled Young
back on
Veterans
track.
came on Dynamite, and they said, "When you see us coming, grit your teeth," which sounds like what a porn producer would say for like a gay for pay porn actor.
Jesus,
like doing his first shoot. Like, hey, when you see them coming, grit your teeth. That is not a scary catchphrase. I guess it is. It's grit your teeth.
Holy fucking shit. A Casino Gauntlet matchup.
All I can picture is that NXT wrestler, the big bald guy.
Lars Sullivan.
Okay, Murray, man, that's your job. That's your meme assignment for the week. Dig up a Lars Sullivan picture and put grit your teeth next to it. I expect that in 2 weeks. Casino Gauntlet match up next.
Ordering shit around.
It would be funny. You know it would be goddamn funny.
I can do it. I can do it right now. I can do it in 15 seconds.
Look at you, Mr. Me Man, and running the fucking pod.
That's right.
I'm the captain now. Look at me. I'm the captain
now.
Casino Gauntlet match.
Obviously, you had Orange Cassidy at number 1, but we were asking about one Kazuchika Okada. He comes out at number 2, which was a nice surprise, and a bunch of first of many big surprises. Nigel McGuinness, Zack Sabre Jr., Ricochet, all names off the top of my head that were surprising to me. The biggest surprise of the bunch was one Nigel McGuinness. As far as I was concerned, this man was
a bigger surprise than Ricochet.
It was a bigger surprise than Ricochet because as far as I was concerned, Nigel McGuinness was done, and we had seen the last of Nigel McGuinness, and now all of a sudden we are seeing him come out, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is awfully early for him to come out. He might be here for a little bit. And
Luchasaurus was a surprise, but not in a good way.
Nigel McGuinness to me was the standout of it all because now it had me thinking what was going to happen in the main event if a certain person won.
Why didn't they advertise Okada?
No clue.
Why don't they say that Orange Cassidy and Okada are going to be number 1 and number 2 in that thing?
Shit. As soon as you just said that match starts, I'm not moving.
I understand that they want it to be a surprise, but from now on, every time there's a Casino Gauntlet match, I'm going to be like, man, there's anybody that doesn't have a match is going to, I don't know. Some big names in this motherfucker. What you think of it, Zach?
I thought this match was awesome. The only reason I said that the women's match might not be the third best match is because this might be the third best match. A lot of fun. Nigel looked real good. Just a lot of fun surprises. Super hot crowd the whole time.
Crowd was great.
Yeah, and also legitimately, I think this is my favorite gimmick match ever. Like,
it's fucking awesome.
Original, maybe it's recency bias, but it's like, that's the thing that that Tony Khan made up. I've never seen it before, and I like it every time. It's super fun. It's like a better Royal Rumble.
Yeah, it's got the Royal Rumble and Gauntlet match in it, and then you flip that the first pin wins. So really anything can happen.
It doesn't hurt that you had started.
You can have it be 30 guys.
No, if you wanted to go that route. But I guess for me, the star power throughout this match, the mystery, obviously, like we said, Ricochet being one of the guys that we thought would come out. I did not even think about Zack Sabre Jr. When he came out, I was like, when Zack Sabre,
oh! Best part of the match was when Zack Sabre Jr. and Nigel McGuinness were fighting each other, and the whole place was chanting British wrestling.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Nigel
Christian Cage
McGuinness
winning is like the total not even foregone, just we buried the lead because everything else up to that point was just like, oh, shit.
Nigel McGuinness being in the match was so much fun.
Yes. Couldn't agree more.
It was like, fuck, yes. And he looked motivated. He wanted to look good, and he did. Christian winning it was a fucking fart in the wind, man.
Yeah, I was literally, that was the second maddest I was at through this whole pay-per-view because I was like,
disappointing.
Jesus Christ, come on. I mean, I'm not saying it should have been Ricochet. I'm not saying it should have been Nigel McGuinness. But Christian is at that point where he doesn't need this. And there's other people that kind of need a little help to get from point A to point B.
I'll disagree with you there. It should have been Ricochet.
I'll say this because this is something I thought about.
Takeshita, who's wrestling on Rampage.
Don't get me started. I'll say this. For me, Ricochet feels like, especially seeing it, a much better fit in AEW and looks like he could actually succeed in AEW because for him, it will be about the moveset and what he can do in the ring and less about what he can do on the stick. If he could improve on the stick, it'd be great. But I think he'd have more. I think he has more success in AEW.
I gotta admit, I have no desire to see Danielson Christian. Zach, what do you think about Christian winning it?
I don't think this is a situation that's going to have a match. It's like a Money in the Bank thing. So for that, I was laughing out loud whenever Christian won it, but that was just because it was so ridiculous. I see him doing like a cash and failing. I don't see them headlining a pay-per-view or anything. It's just going to be a thing for Christian to cash in and fail.
My first thought was he's going to cash in and Edge is going to interrupt him.
Ding!
Like, that is the only reason I could see them giving another title shot to Christian. It's just not
on
useful.
Dynamite. I thought the same thing when they started to talk about. I was like, "This Christian Edge has been out for a hot minute." I mean, not saying
like 4 months.
Not saying that it's going to happen, but I did think about, how could this be derailed? Because I think early on you want to try to get, obviously Daniel Bryan winning. We can talk about that here in a little bit, but just for this point, I think you want to get Daniel Bryan some wins in as he's the champion. Christian Cage feels like that would be a win for Brian Danielson.
I'll say this about Christian Cage. He's got a lot of enemies, man. He's got a lot of enemies out there.
Any one of them. We saw that shit in the curtain jerk. If somebody is pissed off, any one of them could cost him the title. But neither here nor there. For me, like I said, the Casino Gauntlet match was one of my favorite matches. I agree with 3 Beer. This grew on me as the match went on just because of names coming out. It was for the AEW title, so I expected that. And in this scenario, wasn't a big fan of this gimmick at first, but now I'm starting to get on board. I thought this was a really entertaining match in the middle. Next up, obviously a match everybody's talking about, everybody was anticipating, Will Ospreay versus MJF for the AEW American Championship. I don't even know where to start, man. I mean, to me, this was my favorite match. I won't say it's the match of the night. I'll save that for the main event just for the fact of the storytelling. Both matches had great storytelling. To me, the main event was a little bit better, but we'll get to that in a second. Not surprised that Will Ospreay won, but I thought this was a match where ultimately it was going to be built around whether or not Will Ospreay could pull the trigger on the Tiger Driver 91. And slowly but surely you could start to feel the animosity build up to an Ospreay to the point where he's just like, you know what? Fuck this dude. I'm getting ready to drop this motherfucker on his head. The surprise, obviously, being Daniel Garcia coming back to lend the assist on MJF to help Will Ospreay get the dub. I did not even think of Daniel Garcia. I'll be perfectly honest. I just thought this was just going to be another one-on-one masterpiece between these two guys. Daniel Garcia coming in is a twist. It answers the question of what's next for MJF going forward. I have no problem with that. I thought the first match, obviously...
Should have seen it coming. I should have
seen it coming, yeah. The first match, obviously, better. If it was even 20 minutes shorter, I think the first match was better. That they just threw it all out there, that first match. The second match, a little more toned down, but still a really good match.
Zach, what do you think about this match?
Yeah, the first match was a absolute all-time classic. I feel like it was so good. This match was very, very, very good. One of the best matches on a show full of really good wrestling matches. But yeah, I mean, the crowd was super into this, and almost to the detriment of the next match. It was pretty much, these guys, I think, are kicking off, kind of a generational feud. Like, this is not the end of Will Ospreay and MJF by a long shot. Only the next time they do it is going to be for higher stakes, and it'll be for the AEW belt. But this was fun. Really liked the Garcia interference. Didn't think about it. Didn't think about anybody getting involved, but it makes total sense. And it also sets up a fun match for All Out. So, I was a big fan.
The Garcia involvement was like, well, of course. Like, they really did lull us to sleep with that one. They just didn't fucking mention him again. And then they made the whole thing about the Tiger Driver. I thought this match was equal to, if not better than, their Broadway. This felt to me like I forget how long it was. I think it was like 25 minutes. Felt to me like a sprint, man. They were doing all sorts of shit the entire time. The entire match was interesting. There was neither one of them ever slowed down the entire time. There was a couple crazy spots, and I fucking loved it, man. Really loved it. I mean, as I said on our group chat the other day, like, it's the age of Ospreay. He is as good of a professional wrestler as there could be in 2024 is how I feel about him.
I mean, ain't getting too much of an argument for me on this one. I mean, in ring, just
nah, it's the whole package now, man.
This MJF feud, I thought, elevated Will Ospreay's mic skills. Now, here's the litmus test: can he elevate someone else? When he
Ospreay?
Yeah,
of course
I'm talking about on the mic. I'm not talking about in the ring. I'm talking about on the mic.
Yes, he can.
When him and Ricochet cross paths, we'll see that.
That's a tall order, Kemosabe.
Hey, look,
I have to get back to you on that one.
Okay, what'd you just say? What'd you just say? Yes, he can.
I don't know if MJF.
You said that shit with your chest.
I don't know if MJF could elevate Ricochet on the mic, bruv. Maybe he can. Maybe he can.
I'm sure we'll see that too. Next up for the TBS title, Britt Baker versus the champion Mercedes Moné. Not a big fan of the build. I loved when Britt came back, but it felt like this build got a little stagnant. But still looking forward to the match because I thought to myself, these two are good in the ring. They should have good chemistry. This should be a good match. Not so much. I'm not sure what the fuck was happening here, but this just felt clunky. A lot of just missteps or just not working together well with each other. I get the story. Britt's back is not really working with her, but now Mercedes is working the back, but Britt's still kind of doing some moves, but not doing. If we're going to sell the back, then sell the back. Don't be able to do shit. It felt like nobody was the baby face. I'll agree, the match beforehand, okay, maybe it does take the fans out of it, but it's their job, those two women, to get them back in it. This was a disappointing match on all accords.
Zach, do you agree with Jason?
I mean, mostly. Maybe a little harsh on the wrestling. It wasn't great. Technically, it was like mostly good. I don't know. It seemed like Britt was not super motivated. So, but it was. Yeah, I attributed most of it to just like Ospreay and MJF, like having to follow them. They should have put like the ladder match after them or something, so that just had like a little bit of a buffer. That was just going to be tough. But no, I don't know. Whenever this thing started, and I was like, "Oh, Britt Baker came out to confront Mercedes," I'm like, that's like the biggest match you can make. And then it just really kind of turned into nothing, and I don't really care about it at all.
It felt quite a bit smaller than Mariah May, Toni Storm. That's for
Agreed.
sure. Yeah, this match was okay. It seemed to me like Mercedes Moné was trying to get something out of Britt Baker, and Britt Baker just wasn't reading the cues or something. I don't know. I'm not a professional wrestler plying my trade. They are, but it was not great.
Definitely something off. I'm not sure if somebody's not playing ball, but I expected so much more from this. I'm not even saying I expected this to be the match of the night, but
so you think Britt Baker was sandbagging her a little bit?
I'm not saying that.
You heard it?
No. Negro, please. I think we know after 300 and plus episodes, I speak my mind more times than not. I don't think she's sandbagging. Something was off. I'll say this much. She took the finish from Mercedes better than anybody else. I'll tip my hat to that.
That is high praise.
But outside of that, getting to that point, not so much.
What was next?
A match that was curious to see how this finished, and I'm kind of glad it finished the way it did. Darby Allin versus Jack Perry for the TNT title in a coffin match. Obviously, Darby Allin coming into this match undefeated in coffin matches. It felt like another time to just put him into a scenario where it felt like this was going to be a match that he should win. It's his match. Why should he lose? I said it last week. if you want to put Jack Perry over, if you want to kind of, capitalize on all of this goodwill he's came back to, this was the time to do it, and they did it. Go ahead.
I said last week I picked Darby Allin, and then I thought about it a little bit, and I crossed it out, and I wrote down Darby Allin because that's how sure I was that Darby Allin was going to win a fucking coffin match. He didn't just lose the coffin match. Kind of got his ass beat.
I'm not going to go that far. I was getting ready to say, once Jack Perry tied his ass up, I was like, okay, now if Darby Allin wins this shit, this is not a good look for Jack Perry. It's just not.
What you think about the match, Zach?
I ran down to Trader Joe's, which is 2 blocks from my house, as soon as the previous match ended, and I was like, I've got time. And then I come back and
bullshit.
Get his ass.
And not only that, I'm watching the post show like a couple hours later, and I hear about the return of Sting. I took.
Oh, you missed Sting?
Like the biggest. Yeah, I missed the whole thing. That would have been like the biggest pop of my night. It would have made my whole night.
It definitely would have.
Man, everybody went nuts when it happened.
I did kind of was like, okay, maybe it's a little too soon, but it makes all the sense in the world.
I'll tell you what, you learned a lesson though, didn't you? Sting can come back at any time.
Yeah.
Especially to save his boy.
I didn't need those air-fried cheese curds and Scandinavian swimmers nearly as bad as I thought I did.
Yeah, but you did not need them.
I mean,
yeah,
let's not lie. You ate the shit, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, see, there you go.
Right when they started beating up Darby Allin, I was like, fuck, here comes Sting.
I didn't even think about that. Honestly, I did not even think about Sting. Once again, I was still kind of like, damn, TK did this shit. As much as I wanted to be like, I'm the smartest guy in the room, it just made sense to do it. Now, whether he does it or not, a totally different story altogether. The fact that he pulled the trigger on it, I thought that was a nice little tap of the hat to Jack Perry since he's come back. He's been one of the guys that's, fans are kind of talking about, good, bad, or indifferent. Anyway, either when you slice or dice, they're talking about him. And that's something. A year ago, I mean, he was in a completely different spot. Now, he's at least in a spot where he's challenging Danielson for the title.
And what about the main event, Jason?
Obviously, main event, we kind of spoiled it, but obviously at this point, you know how this goes down. Danielson versus Swerve, title versus career for the AEW Championship. I wish Swerve just would have been a little more fucking heelish. I get it. I figured at a certain point, when he was kicked out of the
He yelled at her kid. He yelled at Danielson's kid. Can you imagine if Dax Shepard was in the feud with Swerve? All he does is talk about people's kids.
True.
He was on Dynamite talking about somebody else's kids.
It's not Dax Shepard. It's Dak Harwood.
You knew what I meant. Dax Harwood.
No, I thought this was the match of the night just for the fact that the story involved just as much as I knew how this was going to end, it still got my ass and still kept me invested. Watching Danielson fight off the busted helping hand, the multiple, house call kicks, big pressure, the whole nine. Still watching all that happen and still having him win the title got me a little choked up at the end. So for that point, I got to tip my hat. As predictable as it was, the match was good enough to where it kept me invested.
Zach, did you cry?
I didn't cry. I choked up.
What's that? I did not cry, no. It was emotional, though, and I think the visual of Brian Danielson being kicked in the chest repeatedly while repeatedly telling his kids in the front row, I love you, I love you, I love you, is one of the best visuals in AEW history. Really good, totally momentous match. Swerve has put on some really kick-ass main events since April, since whenever he won that title, including the main event where he won the title.
I was going to say.
Really just good stuff over him.
Yeah, a really good title run for Swerve, first and foremost. He is elevated coming out of it. He is a made guy. There's no doubt about it. This match was fucking unreal. And I probably didn't like it as much as I like Swerve Ospreay. But Swerve got into the ring with 2 of the 3 or 4 best wrestlers in the world over the last couple months and managed to hang in there, and not only just hang in there, he managed to excel. This match fucking ruled. The storytelling ruled. I never once thought that Swerve was going to win, though. They didn't get me on that. But, I mean, 5 stars, man. This is as good as it gets.
I want to say just one last thing, and then we can move to Dynamite or whatever you guys want to do. I saw something online, and it's just random guy with a post, and saying that this Danielson story versus Swerve is better than the Cody story or whatever the case may be when he won the title over Roman. I'm just going to say this. That's the dumbest fucking shit I've ever heard in my goddamn life. I don't give a fuck what story is better. They're both fucking good. Dare I say great. The tribalism bullshit just gotta stop. These motherfuckers aren't gonna pay you. They don't give a fuck about you. It's kind of like your politician. Yeah, it's good to, support them and shit, but if you bumped into them on the street, they wouldn't know who the fuck you are.
Was this a Twitter account with like 0 followers?
I don't know. No, it was actually on Facebook, actually.
Had no likes.
Okay, no, it's actually, like 1,000 plus likes or whatever the case may be.
Jason's cutting a promo on some poor fucking 11-year-old.
I wish it was an 11-year-old. I just don't get why you. Yeah, wouldn't be the worst thing I've done. It'd be ranking, but it wouldn't be the worst thing.
Roman fan 10 or something.
Why do we have to have that discussion? They're both epic fucking matches. Cherry on top of nice little cakes. Can't we just leave the shit at that? God damn.
Yes, we can leave the shit at that. But, Zach, what kind of grade would you give AEW All In?
AEW All In.
Would you say Danielson? Would you say Danielson Swerve is a match of the year candidate?
Yeah, for matches not involving Ospreay.
Yeah. All right.
Yep.
So what's the grade you give it? Sorry, I cut you off.
I'll go ahead and give it an A-.
Jason?
B+.
A-. The MJF match and the main event were enough to basically pull any card up to an A- for me. That's going to do it for our 1 count.
1, 2, 3.
2 beer. What's the 2 count?
Let's just keep the train rolling. I will say if I would have seen things return live, I probably would have bumped it up to an A.
Hey, man.
The
That's on you.
Yeah, it is.
He knows it.
We just talk quickly about Dynamite. John Moxley returned at the beginning of Dynamite. This is in Champaign, Illinois. This is a really good Dynamite overall. I would have liked to have think that I would have tried to make it up there had I lived back in St. Louis, but tough in the middle of the week. Not a huge crowd overall, but Moxley's return maybe a little less momentous just because it was like not a whole lot of people.
From Wembley to fucking Champaign, man.
Okay, and it's not even that. To me, the bigger thing is you were coming off of a really good pay-per-view. And now it's coming to your town in Champaign, Illinois. Wouldn't you want to go see that shit?
Well, the thing that you have to understand about Champaign is that it's a shit town in the middle of a shit state.
Okay, here you go.
So
okay. Here you go.
There's nothing. I mean, that's basically like doing a show in Bentonville, Arkansas, or something. It just doesn't mean anything.
Okay, see, I sung this shit off the top.
You ever met an Illinois fan? Jesus Christ, they are boring.
Stop. Go ahead, 3 Beer. Take this shit over.
I should have gone to Gary, Indiana.
That's right.
Looking for a rowdy crowd. Yeah, and actually, it's funny is Tony Khan's from Champaign. Like, that's like where he grew up. Like,
yep.
I do a fuck ton of blow too.
Stop. God damn, you hate shit.
You gotta make that shit exciting somehow.
Man, don't co-sign for that nigga. Man, that's fucked up.
Cornfield horizons. Like, it's just flat and nothing, and it sucks. But yeah, John Moxley returned. Kind of an interesting return. It was definitely coming off like he wanted to be booed, if not overtly booed, but just coming across like very abrasively. Like he was in heel mode basically. But he did his like posing and his long entrance like through the crowd and stuff. Calls out Darby Allin, which I was like, and he's like, like this is a long time coming. I'm like, okay, like yeah, sure. Like they've both been around forever. They haven't really wrestled. I'm like, that's cool. I don't know where it's coming from, except like it's like, hey, John, you should do a program with Darby. He's like, cool. I'll just go call him out. That seems not the only thing going on. But then he did something interesting, which was he said it's going to take some time for everybody to wrap their brains around this, because this is not your company anymore. And then Tony Schiavone seemed kind of confused. I think everybody seemed kind of confused. I don't know if this is like some kind of, John Moxley has definitely put the company on his back numerous times, and it has been John Moxley's company. So I don't know if that was aimed at anyone in particular, or if this is part of a larger storyline, or what. It was all pretty enigmatic, but I'm happy to see John Moxley back, because wrestling is better with John Moxley in it.
Yeah, it's an angle because the announcers were like, why is he talking in riddles, And then at the end, he shows up with Marina Shafir, who, going to put my journalist hat on here for a second. Mm-mm. Apparently, sources have told me that John Moxley has always been high on backstage. Jason.
Yeah, he did blood sport and stuff. Like, he's definitely been very high on her.
I mean, it's, what does John Moxley mean? Ultimately is the question. I didn't really think it was a heel promo until he kind of went at Tony Schiavone, and poor Tony looked like a deer in the headlights. I felt bad for his ass. That's when I was thinking, okay, is this the end of the Blackpool Combat Club as we know it? Moxley obviously been gone since, like they said, since Forbidden Door, and now you kind of see Blackpool Combat Club moving along with Pac kind of being the third wheel, so to speak.
Yeah, Pac didn't look real comfortable in the ring at the end when Danielson won. Like,
no.
He was like, why the fuck am I here?
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Or maybe that's just...
Moxley was going to call out Pac because Pac inserted himself into his group. I thought he was going to, I thought they were going to have like some matches, and then, because it's like bleed with us. I thought they were going to have, I think he was going to call out Pac and they were going to have matches, and then he was going to be fully inducted.
Yeah, Moxley hasn't seemed like he's been in the Blackpool Combat Club for a while, though. It just seems like he's kind of floating around it, kind of.
No, I'm not even gonna go that far. It was fine until they decided to make him the IWGP champion. Then he started to float around.
He's like Carlito to the Judgment Day.
Stop, niggas. No, you didn't.
Also, it's a group named after a guy who works for WWE.
Yeah, I know.
True.
I mean, that's true, too.
True point. Good point.
It's tough for Moxley to get
now.
Moxley has a hard time.
Speaking of which, it is tough. It is, yeah. At this point in his career, and all he's done, it is tough. But now with the way he came off, and he said it's not your company anymore, and then he had Marina Shafir. Now I think we're going to get Shane McMahon and Raw Underground Invasion on AEW.
Cut him off.
There are people predicting
Cut him off.
that.
Cut him the fuck off.
There are
don't
people
put that
predicting
shit,
that.
Don't put that shit out here in the atmosphere like that. Don't say that ever again. No. Fuck. God
Got
damn.
Shane written all over
I
it.
did see that online.
You did see this online?
Renee Paquette. Yeah, that's the only reason I brought it up.
It's not real, though.
Oh, Jesus. Thank God. Still don't say that ever again.
Renee Paquette was backstage with the conglomeration. Willow Nightingale says she's getting a Chicago street fight against Chris Statlander. So that is the match for All Out. We had a fucking awesome pro wrestling match. Tomohiro Ishii versus Adam Page. Apparently they've never wrestled before. They were in ROH or in New Japan or anything.
Weren't they in the G1 together? I could have swore they were. That means
I think they were in there the same year, but they must have been in
different blocks. Okay, I guess that makes sense. That surprised me that it was their first match ever. Zach's right. This match was fucking awesome.
It was the best DDT sell I've ever seen, where Ishii just planted himself on top of his head on the apron, and he like hooked his leg around so that he just stood straight up and down for like 5 or 6 seconds before he fell down. Fucking great. But of course, eventually Adam Page goes over, which is what I expected, but did not diminish my enjoyment of the match at all.
Not at all. And then Swerve came out, and Swerve and Hangman had a tremendous segment where Hangman got to like actually kind of look like a baby face, where he was like, yeah, motherfucker. He's like, you're not better than me. And he named why he had won. And then Swerve starts talking about his kids again. And it was like, okay, this is a dynamic I can get behind. I really liked Adam Page in that segment after it.
I liked them both. I thought they were great. You know, like Swerve said, he's doesn't have a belt anymore, but he will always be referred to as a world champion. Page, you know, came off as unhinged, but he also listed like, first you needed Nana to beat me, then you needed Brian Cage and Nana, and then the third time, you know, you couldn't get it done, you know, within a time limit. So, yeah, they're going to be in a cage at All Out, which is, you know, been a long time build. We've only had 2 weeks for, you know, between pay-per-views, but this is a storyline that's been built up for a very long time beforehand, so that was cool. I'm for it.
Yeah, man, this is like the main event.
Well, and Hangman cut his hair. He's down to shoulder length now. See that? Did you notice that?
No.
I thought that was a pretty big deal. You gotta have long wet hair. And his was like, it was to his shoulders and he was dry. It's like you just got done pestering you as you walked in the grocery store about buying some fucking Girl Scout cookies.
I like how Hangman
back down, Darren. Back down.
I like how Hangman Page's face, even in the graphics to show the match, is him like bitching. Like the face that he's making, even in the still picture, is him like bitching about something. That's really funny to me.
I know people have said that Hangman's come off whiny. At least his characters come off a little whiny, and I get that.
He has.
And I know I'm willing to concede that this was it felt like almost a turn in front of our eyes where ultimately Swerve went back to, you know, I'm in your head, you know, I fuck with your family, yada yada yada. Page is like, well, you know, if you
I was watching you and I didn't even tell you.
I was in the chair filming the whole thing, motherfucker. You know,
parking across your street,
right?
Like fucking creep.
Thank you. So that's heel shit. You know what I'm saying? I much rather have Hangman Page as the heel. He has been way more intriguing as a heel.
You said that the Dax Harwood, man, he'd stroke out right there in the middle of
Oh, yeah, I did about to say he might. Yeah, you did better have paramedics ready to go.
Nobody loves their kid like him.
It's interesting to see the twist that is happening between both characters. I guess ultimately that's my point. What were you saying, 3-Beer?
No, I was just poking fun at Dax. Like anybody that calls Adam Page's like character like whiny, like there's some kind of like that's some kind of like astute observation. Like, yeah, that's the fucking point, bro. Like that is the fucking character. Like it's very over the top. Like fucking Sherlock. Anyway, in-ring return of Jamie Hayter. She squashed Harley Cameron. This was fun. Saraya kind of being a chicken shit. Ran away from her. This seems like it is going to be an all-out match as well.
Yeah, give me Hayter, Mariah May.
I don't want to see that right away because that might mean that Jamie Hayter loses, but ultimately I do need to see Jamie Hayter in the title picture. I don't want to see her going after Mercedes Moné. She was the champion. She lost the title to Toni Storm. Ultimately, we know the backstory. At a certain point, I need to see her chase the title versus chasing Mercedes Moné.
MJF comes out. He is in a suit and in pain. This is what it says on the recap here, which is pretty funny. He talks about how much pain he's in. He does the most whiny fucking bitchy boy fucking thing he can do, where he says, "I hereby denounce my American citizenship," which is fucking so good. And he's back to everywhere in America sucks except for Plainview, Long Island. And he basically calls out Ospreay, says, it's not over. But he then calls out Daniel Garcia because he's more angry at him. And Garcia jumps him from behind and beats the shit out of him and then cuts a fucking wicked promo on him, saying that he stole the Dynamite Diamond ring and pawned it for a round-trip plane ticket to All In. And he said it's not good enough just to beat him in a match. He's like, I want to drop you on your neck, which he was not able to do because of security. This is another one where, hey, we only had 2 weeks to build, but they planted the seeds before. Longer-term story worked in with the previous pay-per-view. I'm now very excited and invested in this match.
Yeah, smart booking.
I give Cody credit. He learned from the year before where last year's 2 weeks, or maybe if it was even a week, it just felt
a week.
It felt very rushed. This time around, Tony at least adjusted and now are bringing us matches. Swerve and Page we've seen, but that doesn't mean I'm not excited to see that shit. This shit's in the steel cage. MJF, Daniel Garcia, they like Three Beer said, seeds were planted, and now we're going to see that at All Out. So in this scenario, like I said, I'll bang on Tony when he does some stupid shit. I'll tip my hat when he does some smart shit. This was smart shit. I love this promo. I love Daniel Garcia coming back. I'm not thinking that he's going to win this, but if he does, that would be fucking amazing.
Can we just have a little bit of like appreciation for MJF in the sense that he sells on the Dynamite after pay-per-views, and the reason that stands out so much is because no one ever does it anymore. You can call me Jim Cornette if you want to, but I do appreciate a guy that went through a hellish match on the pay-per-view 4 days before coming out and still selling his neck on the way down the ramp. And you couple that with what we said last week about his promo when he was they were in shoot mode, and then he switched it back to kayfabe, and it's like, yes, MJF is not fucking too cool. He plays somebody that's too cool, but he does all the little things right. And
oh yeah, absolutely, he does. Like he play, like you hit it right on the head. Like he plays somebody who's too cool to take part in anything or like degrade himself to do anything. But in actuality, he will do anything to get an angle over, including making himself look stupid.
Kayfabing it, and then just fucking selling, So, God bless him.
No, one of my biggest pet peeves is not selling a big-time injury. Daniel Garcia being gone for that long stretch of time, when he comes back, is more impactful than if he was gone for a week, and then he comes back.
But, like, Swerve doesn't come out and sell. Fucking Darby Allin doesn't really come out and sell. Jack Perry doesn't come out and sell. Like, they could all be selling that they had a brutal match a few days before.
No doubt.
The next match was not as geniusly booked. I was really bummed to even see this on the card. We're in the Jericho Vortex here with Jericho, Big Bill, Brian Keith, and Roderick Strong versus conglomeration of Orange Cassidy, Mark Briscoe, Kyle O'Reilly, and Hook thrown in there. So
yeah, this was a party match, but it's one of those parties that you throw in college, and it's like 11:30 at night, but it's still just you and your roommate sitting around. And you're all kind of looking at each other like, well, I guess nobody wants to hang out, and so this was a sad party match.
Yeah, and it was also just not a good way to book a build to a title match. So in order to lead to a title match between Roderick Strong and Hook, they had Hook tap Roderick Strong out, who had his foot on the ropes in front of the referee, who actually had to jump over Roderick Strong's leg as she called for the bell. It was terrible. Who wants to see this match now? I'm sure the match itself will be fine, but we just saw him tap him out.
Go ahead, Jason.
He really stole my thunder, especially about the part where the referee had to jump over to get the bell rang. Just get rid of this shit. Roddy Strong shouldn't even be fucking with this.
When you say just get rid of this shit,
the FTW title just needs to go. No. I'm not talking about Hook. I think Hook's biggest problem is Tony Khan. Tony Khan's not booking him right. I think there is talent there. He could be a solid mid-card champion. I'm not going to sit up here and say he can be a world champion. He could be a solid mid-card champion. The fact that he's still fucking around with Jericho, the FTW title, and this mid-card quagmire, that's the problem.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Time and a lot of wins.
No disagreement with that, but it's still.
I don't
now
like
what?
the FTW title either, but I don't think he's being booked wrong. Like, it's just the FTW title sucks. But like, he's got a title, he's on TV a lot, and he wins a lot. Like, what more can you ask? Like, that's for a fucking 25-year-old fucking kid.
Well, then that means that he hasn't gotten himself over. If he's being booked strong,
he doesn't really have. He does not have any personality. I don't know if you guys watched the
product,
after, like the press conference. I like Hook as a wrestler, but like people will like ask questions at the press conference, and he's like, "Yeah, we'll see." Like he's just got like 3 words that he says. Like he's like a kid. I mean, it's fine. Julia Hart is kind of similar. Like she's also just a kid. Like in those press conferences, like they don't really, they kind of. Like they're into this and they're good at it, but like they haven't quite figured out how to like build a character. Even Julia's character with work, she was not talking. Like neither one of them like kind of they don't get over it through talking, and I think that's like kind of what's missing from them. And they'll learn as they grow up. I don't know. But I don't like the FTW title. I think I'm done with it.
Speaking of not getting over while talking, what was next?
No, You ain't shit.
What was
Fuck
yes,
you.
Mercedes. Backstage, that's really funny. And Private Party interrupts them. Said you can't have a party without Private Party. She like kind of blows him off. Asks Okada, who walks in, how to say "bye bitches" in Japanese, and he whispers in her ears, but she just says "sayonara bitches," which is pretty funny. And then Okada started dancing and smiling and saying, "This is a dream come true." Like, he's the worst heel in the world. He is so funny and so likable. This is just a nothing segment.
I mean, this is how you not treat Mercedes Moné like a star, is that she wins this big match on the biggest pay-per-view of your year, and she has a backstage segment with Private Party. And when she says, "Let's keep the party going," it's just her dancing by herself in her room. Like, she looks like a fucking crazy person.
I want to say it wrong, but it was a little cringy while she was dancing.
A little.
It was pretty cringy, man.
This was a terrible segment.
I hate the fact that Okada is funny as being this heel, but it just feels weird seeing him like being used like this. That's just a New Japan guy in me. If that's the way they want to go about it, so be it. It's going to be up to me to get adjusted to it. But the biggest thing is, like Three Beer said, like you said, having this backstage, and instead of having that in the ring or wherever the case may be, that part was weird. Watching her dance by herself, that was weird. Private Party being involved, that was weird. The whole thing just didn't work.
You forgot when she was dancing by herself and nobody else was dancing? Half the people weren't even looking at her.
Yeah.
At her own party.
Yeah.
You're going to sing Happy Birthday when everybody's singing. That's all I'm fucking saying.
I didn't get a harm from him.
Get in.
She has her own writer. They hired a writer just for her.
That dude needs to be fired immediately.
It's Vince McMahon.
Stop.
Well, I mean, it's a woman from WWE. Her name's like Peppercorn or whatever. Jennifer Peppercorn, I think.
She's fired.
But that sounds like the lifeguard on Sandlot, but I think that's correct.
That's Wendy Peppercorn.
Yeah. Wendy Peppercorn, yeah. Maybe that's her. Maybe she grew up and she went from being sexually assaulted and pool in the Sandlot.
That's not the only character from the Sandlot they got on the show. Max Caster wears the main kid's hat.
Oh, shit. I don't know. I do think it's funny. Jason mentioned Okada. I don't know that necessarily this is the way that, I wouldn't say, this is the way that AEW wants to use Okada. I think that Okada is very much, this is what Okada wants to do. I don't think they're going to come in and take, Tony Khan knows who Okada is. He knows how big of a star he is and what he's capable of. It's not like Vince with Nakamura or something like that. I think Okada gave his entire body to us for a decade.
Yeah, he's
and Okada is totally fine. Yeah, he is. He hasn't broken a fucking sweat in 6 months.
Yeah, he's making more money than he's ever made, and he's not doing shit. He's reaping the rewards of a prior career in which he was underpaid.
And no problem with that. Okay, for me, like I said, it's funny because I like heel Okada. But I'm still, in the back of my mind, I'm waiting for, his first real big match in AEW.
Also, I'm the audience, and I want to see the motherfucker wrestle. Which we did at Dynasty.
I mean, he had a good match. Pac was on, and then the Claudio match on Dynamite last week. Those are the only 2 matches where he's really seems like he's gone out of his way to put on a performance.
Yeah.
And then we had Mariah May come out, and very much so this is kind of like the antithesis of a Divas era championship segment. This was kind of woman choosing to use her body as empowerment kind of thing. This would have been degrading if someone would have, if a man would have told her to come out and do this. But I'm sure this was Mariah May doing what Mariah May does, and she cuts a heel promo. She shows off her body. Then she says that's enough. The champagne's a shitty town. She actually said it should be called flat stale beer instead of champagne, and she's not wrong about that.
Stop!
And
It's
definitely flat. It's definitely stale. And this was something of a follow up. I guess Tony Storm had the night off, and they're gonna stretch that out a little bit, but she said she's going to delay the celebration. Maybe we'll have something bigger, but this was just 2 minutes. It was whatever.
Well, I mean, I take your point about Mariah May coming off, showing her body, and then leaving, but, it would be, she's not Tori Wilson. She can actually go. She can back it up in the ring, so it is a little different.
Fair.
Sure.
I didn't necessarily have a problem with this. This was fine. I think everybody should get their victory lap. I thought this would just be a little longer, maybe set something up for her down the line for her first opponent. Neither one of those, well, the back didn't happen, but this was fine. It's a good, solid heel promo, dissing the whole city, and giving us a little taste, but not everything. Walking off, no problem with it. Good heel shit.
Grizzly Young Vets backstage at Wembley, and then little tete-a-tete with the Young Bucks. That's obviously the direction that they're going. That's going to be a hell of a match. But then they kind of promo. They're going to face a team on Rampage. They didn't know who it was, but we saw a graphic for the Outrunners. So that'll be a squash. And then we had Kyle Fletcher versus Ricochet. So this is the Dynamite debut of Ricochet, first TV match, first singles match. And, man, he went out there doing an old-school indie Ricochet match, just running around, bouncing around. Kyle Fletcher is awesome. This thing was basically Tony put those 2 guys out there because he knew they were going to have a hell of a match. They definitely did. Ricochet hit him with a move called the Vertigo, which I didn't know if that was Ricochet's finisher or not because I haven't seen him win a match in 8 fucking years.
Stop.
So,
Jesus.
And but he did. He won it against Kyle Fletcher, and then Ospreay. And Ricochet was fucking gassed, man. He was tired after this fucking match. He was out, he was showing that he was very tired, but he looked gassed.
Yes.
But Ospreay comes out before Ospreay can get a word in. Pac does a Poison Rana on the ramp, because that's the move that I always lead with whenever I attack someone from behind, is a Poison Rana.
Fuck taking the knee out. I'm jumping on your back, motherfucker.
Yeah. I'm gonna make you backflip onto your own head.
That's wild.
So they're teasing Ricochet, Ospreay, which we all want to see. But Pac is like, hey, don't forget about me because you have to wrestle me. Which, that's a match that, like I said, we only have 2 weeks between All In and All Out. So it's nice to have these things being longer term stories, but then you can also just have he's got a roster full of guys where you can just be like, you fight it all out. And with Pac and Ospreay, it's going to be a hell of a fucking match. So we got a lot of teases in here. Pac versus Ricochet, Pac versus us. Lot going on, lot to unpack. So all of it very fun, very solid.
No, honestly, just the match itself, I thought was, like you said, it was a really good pairing of two guys that have very similar skill sets. Obviously, Kyle Fletcher a little taller, maybe a little more muscular, but I thought this was a really good match, and I agree with you totally. Ricochet looked gassed. Now, post-match, I knew that it was going to be Ospreay coming out because obviously Kyle Fletcher's his boy. Didn't even think about Pac, and I'm disappointed in myself because I'm the motherfucker that's been like, what's up with Pac? What's up with Pac? And the next thing you know, he comes out, I'm like, oh, shit. So to me, that was a really good way to interject him into this match where he had to take a back seat to MJF. He's not taking a back seat to Ricochet at this point. I don't necessarily want to see Ricochet and Ospreay right away. If you just build it a little bit, build up. Ricochet is the biggest thing. Will Ospreay's fucking over. Now you got to build up Ricochet to now the stakes feel high enough to where you can have this match. But ultimately, to me, the story was Pac attacking Will Ospreay from behind. I'm assuming that's an all-out match now, or is that we still don't know?
It is.
Okay,
yeah.
So yeah, perfect. So once
it
again,
has already been announced.
Tip the hat to TK. He brought back Pac in a situation where you thought you were gonna get one thing, but oh yeah, here's this other guy, and now you got the all-out match. I thought it was well done, at least in that sense.
Then Brian Danielson addresses his future, and his future is uncertain. It's kind of cool. He cuts a really nice babyface promo where he almost starts crying and saying, whenever he said that when he got to the back, his daughter said, "Daddy, this was the best day of my life." Oh my God, that one got me. But he mentioned that his contract expired on August 1st. He needs next surgery sooner rather than later, and he's ready to go home, but not yet, because he is going to defend this title. So it's kind of cool because we basically know that every match from now on is not title versus career, but title versus, his neck surgery is probably going to be out for like a year or whatever. So it's kind of like title versus, going away for a long time. So that adds a little bit of a stipulation to each one of these defenses. Anyway, Jack Perry shows up on camera, pre-recorded vignette, got a promo on Danielson. He's beat him before, lines out all these reasons why he should have an opportunity at the title. All sounded pretty logical coming from a heel, I must say, even if it's Jack Perry, who's like biggest claim to fame is, and his like biggest credit is just that he's Luke Perry's kid. It's still like the most interesting thing about him.
So, what was your initial reaction when you found out that Jack Perry was going to be Brian Danielson's first challenger?
I was like, okay. I mean, kind of good for Perry. That's the kind of thing you want to do with young talent like that, is get them in the ring with veterans in bright lights and see if they can shine.
Yeah, my reaction at first was pretty sour, and then as I've stewed on it for a day, it's like, okay, you know what? Yeah, that is what they should be doing with Jack Perry. He's strung together some wins, and they obviously are very, very high on him. That might sound like so obvious, but I mean, him getting a match versus Daniel Bryan.
Chicago.
Yeah, I mean that crowd. So it's going to be hot. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Very much looking forward to it. Jason, thoughts on it?
I'm like you on this one. I was a little underwhelmed when Jack Perry was the guy, But like I said before, if you're going to put Jack Perry over by having him beat Darby Allin in a match that nobody else has beat him in, this is the next step. So I was with you. Disappointed. I used the word underwhelmed. But then once he started to attack Danielson, I was like, okay, I can work with this. You're going to have to get, like I said, Danielson's going to get some dubs off the bat. To me, where you go after the first couple, ZSJ, Nigel McGuinness, Hangman maybe, MJF.
Oh, you think Nigel McGuinness is back?
I'm not saying that he's back. I'm just saying in a one-off, it would be a little surprising if you didn't at least broach the subject, if not have the match.
All right, that was a ton of AEW. Let's get to that 3 count.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, so we got predictions coming up after this. So I'll run through the 2 episodes of WWE main roster television, and we'll run through it relatively quickly. But I'll do what Jason does. I'll name some segments, and then you guys tell me if there's anything you want to talk about. A-Town Down Under fights KO and CR. Cody Rhodes, I should say. And Cody Rhodes, he's looking over his back. He doesn't know if KO's going to turn on him. KO is certainly acting like he's going to turn on him. So after that, LA Knight defeats Santos Escobar. Carmelo Hayes and Andrade are backstage again. Looks like they're going to have another match. So somebody's been listening to the pod. Zach, anything to say about any of these?
No, I really liked the tease with KO where he aggressively handed Cody back the belt. Looked like he was going to hit him from behind with it. Their tease was pretty nice. They're doing it good.
Jason?
They got me. I was like, oh, shit, he's getting ready. Oh, motherfucker. Okay, good shit. Yeah, I think they are listening to the pod. I'm waiting for KO to turn on Cody at some point. And obviously the Andrade, Carmelo, it might not be best of 5, it might not be best of 7, but they're running it back again. So, I mean, they're doing something for a reason. They have good matches. So, ultimately, I don't have a problem with that. I just need to see, what does this winner get? Don't just do it to do it. Have some sort of stake at the end.
We had a 6-woman tag that I didn't even bother writing down who was in it, so I don't remember. We had the Bloodline 2.0 backstage, Street Profits versus the Bloodline 2.0. Bloodline goes over, DIY comes out. Bloodline quickly dispatches of them. Thoughts, Jason?
Obviously, to me, the story here is Jacob Fatu surrendering the tag title to one Tongaloa, and the crowd all of a sudden chanting, "You can't wrestle" once again.
Mean.
Yeah, that's what I say on our text thread when you put that out there. I was like, now see, that's on you. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying everybody listens to BFR, but some of them do.
Butterfly effect, man. You just put a little negativity out there.
And now all of a sudden Tongaloa is catching shrapnel on national TV. That will be interesting to see how it plays itself out.
To be fair, he can't wrestle.
Stop. Let that man let that man be in the tag team and be done with it. Jesus Christ, he's gonna take some pins. So let him be a tag champ for a little bit. I'll just be curious. I'm curious to see how this plays out with Fatu and Solo going forward, because you're not doing this for no reason. There's seeds being planted. Now, how they blossom, time will tell.
Zach, any thoughts?
Nah, I'll reserve discussion until a later date. Weekly episodic television.
B-Fab gets a talking segment. Meechin gets a vignette. Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jackson, Pretty Deadly, are backstage. A bunch of talking segments involving the women's division for a while. And then we get the Teddy Long-ass main event of Cody Rhodes and KO versus A-Town Down Under. I mean, we already kind of discussed it. Is there anything else about SmackDown you guys want to talk about?
No. Cody definitely had my interest from start to finish. And like I said, when KO went over there, I was like, oh, this is it. This is, son of a bitch, you got me again.
Starting off Raw, we have the Judgment Day and the LWO out there to start. Ray tells his son that he doesn't have any balls. Zach, what did you like the segment?
I mean, it had a lot of crowd heat and good reactions, but like it just was like a very Vince era segment to me. Like, you know, well, I mean, maybe it's just because Rey Mysterio is kind of a boomer, which is how he came off.
What do you think, Jason?
I kind of get what Three Beer was saying, but ultimately, it's a little disjointed because we went away from this and now we're back to it. It just felt like it was a way to get Judgment Day the dub, but ultimately bring out the Terror Twins to have them exact some revenge. So I mean, it was what it was. Dominic on the mic is one of the best heels in WWE, hands down. He didn't even have to say a word, and the motherfuckers is booing them out of the motherfucking building again as usual. So for me, Dom being the heel, the center of attention of this whole thing is just so fun to watch.
I gotta say, I was a little disappointed to see Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods back on the same page for now. I think that this is it's an uneasy piece right now. I don't think that we're done with this story, but they both had triple threat matches in the Intercontinental Championship tournament, which was won by Jey Uso versus Kofi Kingston and Karrion Kross, and then Pete Dunne won in a match with Xavier Woods and The Miz. What you think about these two guys going forward?
Good on Pete Dunne. Obviously, Pete Dunne's a little bit of everywhere here and on NXT. Jey Uso's not a huge surprise, especially considering the competition in the match. Kofi Kingston might as well just made that a singles match and just been done with it. Karrion Kross, God bless him, he was there to take the pin, which he did. Pete Dunne to me was a little bit more of a surprise. I thought they might go with Miz, but ultimately this is going to go back to like you were talking about.
I'm telling you what, The Miz versus Xavier Woods versus Pete Dunne looks like somebody was playing the 2016 version of WWE 2K, and they put themselves in a triple. It's like some 12-year-old kid, and he put himself in a match versus The Miz and Xavier Woods. He did a creative character of himself.
Stop.
This is a random ass triple threat match there. Xavier Woods, The Miz, and Pete Dunne. Thank God Pete Dunne went over.
Yeah.
Oh, it's mine.
Yeah, it's you, motherfucker.
Sorry. Randy Orton comes out and cuts a bait. Oh, I skipped McIntyre and Punk. I think McIntyre. Yeah, McIntyre came out first, and Punk didn't even cut a promo, just started to attack him. So I have a lot more to say about the strap match when we do our predictions. But anything to say, Jason?
Punk can't. You clearly.
By the way, last week you guys killed me because Bill was like, I don't really like gimmick matches, but I like strap matches. Jason's like, huh? And I was in my head, I'm just like, huh? I'm like, I was like, those suck. And you're like, yeah, there's more strategy. And Jason's like, counterclockwise or clockwise? Like, what's
Thank you. I'm saying, I'm glad I feel vindicated because I'm sitting there like, what the fuck did he just? Never mind, man.
I stand by every single one of my terrible tanks.
I've never seen a good one.
I did the same thing, and I heard him say that, and then all I heard was Jason go, huh? I was like, oh my God, these guys are acting a fool.
I'm proud of all my takes.
I'll say that. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Braun Breaker cuts a tremendous promo backstage where he was talking about how Jey Uso, no one in your family has ever beat up anybody in my family. And he goes, and Pete Dunne. You think Pete Dunne's going to win the Intercontinental Belt for me? Come on.
I'm like, God damn.
Fucking loved it. Braun Breaker rules.
No, that's it. That's Braun Breaker rules. Just put somebody in front of him so he can beat him and move this thing along. Because right now, I just want to see him beat people down and have a nice little reign as the Intercontinental Champion.
Oh, man, I also skipped Bronson Reed versus Braun Strowman, where Bronson Reed tsunamis him on top of a car. Zach, I bet you loved this, didn't you?
Yeah, it was sports entertainment. I was into it.
Jason?
It's probably the best use of Braun Strowman because...
You said last week you were going to be mad if Braun Strowman went over. That's a no contest, brother.
That's fine, but all the chaos backstage, but more so obviously outside in the parking lot, is the whole story. this is where Braun Breaker does things that, Braun Strowman does things that you typically don't see. So when they were outside fighting, I'm like, okay, what's he going to turn over? What's he going to throw? I was already anticipating, some sort of big spot. Tsunami off of the stage or whatever you want to call it. No, I didn't expect that shit coming. So as far as I'm concerned, that's how, to me, that's the best use of Braun Strowman, over the top type spots. Braun Strowman is not someone I'm looking to be a world champion anytime soon, but he can get Bronson Reed over. So in that scenario, I'm down for it.
Yeah, I was down for it. I mean, it's like Zach said, it's sports entertaining. Like, it was kind of entertaining, I guess. I mean, it was a big spot.
I mean, when he jumped on that car, I was like, God damn.
It was fun. And then finally, I probably could have mentioned this in the intro, Uncle Howdy makes his in-ring debut. I didn't know that Bo Dallas had a broken neck 18 months ago, and this was actually his first match back, period. But, I'll start off here. Uncle Howdy versus Gable, we've said it before, there's something about this feud that's just kind of off. I would have been completely fine with this match 100% if Bo Dallas just would have had his regular hair.
Man.
That was what was wrong with this.
That's what, Zach, did you think something else was wrong with it?
I mean, I didn't think there was anything particularly good about it, but I actually was like, the fact that he's got hair built into this wig, that's kind of cool.
Oh, Zach was pro this long silver hair. Jason, where are you at on the hair?
I guess I'll be the guy that'll shit on it. I'm good on it. You could have kept that. I don't know. I like the callbacks to, the Fiend dancing with, his opponent or whatever. I'll give you that. I thought Bo Dallas was solid in the ring. I don't know. I just have a hard time wrapping my head around why the Wyatt Six is now being positioned as baby faces when they destroyed everything in sight when they first walked in the door. Why are we now in kayfabe all of a sudden?
We've discussed this, though. They pivoted.
They shouldn't have never pivoted, okay? Make them as eerie, creepy, scary as humanly possible. Now they just feel like they're just, just a weird faction that wears, masks and shit. There's nothing that's special about them. Their vignettes are special. In ring, they're not that special.
They peaked when Bo Dallas had that first interview. That was their peak. I feel like everything else.
Eric Rowan, I thought, was amazing.
They just need to lose the spooky shit.
Eric Rowan was amazing when he talked about his shit. The rest were just kind of like, here's Joe Gacy, here's Dexter Loomis, here's Nikki Cross, and never really, developed those characters. And I think that's important. If you're going to get the group over, we got to care about the whole group, not just a couple of the guys.
Okay, so that is going to do it for our 3 count.
1, 2, 3.
Man from Ringside.
Damn, pushy Miss Button, just calm down. Pick one.
Got some predictions this week.
That look was great.
I want to say that last week I had 8. I came in first with 8. Jason Cornelius Bell comes in second with 8 points. And 2 Beer Zach Pullman comes in dead last with 7. So right now, Jason and I are tied for first. So we got 2 pay-per-views this week.
I say that math made no sense.
NXT No Mercy is what we're going to start with for fun here. For the Women's NXT Heavyweight Championship, we have Roxanne Perez versus Jada Parker. Zach, go ahead and go first.
I'm going to go with Roxanne because unless she's going to the main roster, which she totally can because she's that good, she should keep those titles.
I, too, am going with Roxanne. It's not time. Jada Parker's a fun challenger, but she's not going to beat Roxanne Perez. What do you think, Jason?
I do like Jada Parker a lot. I'm surprised that she's in this spot, but I'm happy that she's in this spot. It's a chance to get her over more so as a wrestler. I think her character it's a pretty solid character. Unfortunately, the rumors are there. There's people on deck. This is going to be Roxanne setting up either Julia, Stephanie Fakir, Delta, one of the three is going to be, it feels like the next big opponent, because obviously the smack backstage where Jada Parker took the taste out of Roxanne's mouth, she did look over at somebody off camera and say, oh, if you want some, you can get some too. So whoever this next opponent is on deck. So it's got to be Roxanne.
Up next, we have Kalani Jordan versus Wendy Chu for the Women's North American Championship. I'll say that this Wendy Chu shit is some indie-ass shit. Is she in the Dark Order or something? I'm going with Kalani Jordan. Jason, who you got?
I can't say I totally disagree with your thought, and I'll double down on it and say that I'm not a huge fan of Kalani Jordan's character. Even though I missed a couple weeks of NXT, the 2 weeks I watched doesn't make me invested in this match.
Unprofessional bullshit.
I know, man. Shit. Moving sucks. I'm going to take Kalani Jordan to retain. Wendy Chu, I thought, is a good wrestler. Just this character just doesn't feel like it's going anywhere.
Zach?
I'll take Kalani Jordan.
Obafemi versus Tony D'Angelo for the Men's North American Championship. I will go first. Or no, Jason, you go first.
I got Obafemi to retain, but I do think this is going to be a good match. I said Tony D'Angelo in the past is a good wrestler. Just the gimmick is, and I'll double down on what you said before. It's just not a main event. It's not a world championship gimmick, but this feels like a good spot for him to challenge Obafemi. But Obafemi, like I said, he's the truth, and he's the man of the mid card. I got Obafemi to retain.
Zach, who you got?
Yeah, I'll go with Obafemi as well.
3 for 3 here. We are in Sapodico. I'm going with Obafemi. I can't say anything better than what Jason said. Up next for the NXT Tag Team belts, we have Chase U, which is Andre Chase and Ridge Holland, versus Nathan Frazer and Axiom. Zach?
Nathan Frazer and Axiom have it, right?
No, Chase U has it. Chase and Ridge Holland.
They took it. Okay.
Man, hit that right on him. Shit. Fucking with me.
Yeah, unprofessional. I'll take Chase U to retain them. If Nathan Frazer actually had it, I would say Chase U, but Chase U already has it, so I'm going to go Chase U.
I'm going Chase U too. I think this is the end of Frazer and Axiom, probably. Jason, who you got?
Yeah, I don't know if it's the end, but it's the start of Chase U's title run. Ridge Holland still feels like an uneasy member of Chase U. I'm kind of waiting for him to, show his ass and flip heel. But for the moment, he's playing nice in the sandbox. I'll take Chase U.
Chase U, 3 for 3 again. Okay, the last two could get kind of interesting. The last two are interesting matches. We have Wes Lee versus Zachary Wentz, both formerly of the Rascals and MSK. Jason, who do you got?
I would like to see, and this was the question I wanted to ask Joe, and you asked it already, where you have two different promotions. How do you play ball and get both promotions over? To me, to do it the best way, one promotion wins, one promotion loses. I'm just not sure which is which. I'm just going to stick with my gut. I'm going to say that Wes Lee wins this match. I would not be surprised to see Zachary Wentz win this and then have Wes Lee show up on TNA Impact and, attack Zachary Wentz. That's the way, in theory, that's the way I would want to do it, or the better way I would want to see it. So that way you got both shows using both guys, building this feud on the shows where everybody gets over.
I'm taking Zach Wentz. I think that this may tip my hand as to who I'm taking in the main event, but Zachary Wentz has been on TV for the last 4 weeks. Joe Hendry's been on NXT for 5 weeks. It's like those guys are just NXT wrestlers now. Like, they might be from a different promotion, but they're on TV every week. That means that they're NXT wrestlers. I'm taking Zachary Wentz because it just makes more sense. Who you got, Zach?
I'll be a point of differentiation. I'll go Wes Lee on this one.
Yeah, I mean, could go either way.
Could go either way.
That's why they wrestle the matches. And then finally, we have Ethan Page versus Joe Hendry. Zach, who you got?
I went Wes Lee on this one because I think they're going to pull a crazy trick and they're going to put Joe Hendry over here. So
Taking Joe.
I'm taking Joe Hendry.
Hendry.
This is a gamble.
No, I don't think it's that much of a gamble because, like I said, if you want to do this partnership right, this would be an amazing move. And then if you wanted to flip it back to Ethan Page or whomever on the NXT side, you could do that and everybody wins. Trick being the special referee is obviously the X factor, and I think that X factor actually helps Ethan Page, so I'm going to take Ethan Page to retain.
Yeah, I think Trick Williams being the guest referee means that Pete Dunne is going to come down and do something to Trick Williams. I am picking Ethan Page here also. So, Zach and I each have one different than Jason. So we will go next to Bash at Berlin, which is Saturday at noon. Unfortunately, I'll be golfing, so I'm going to have to watch it later on. But only 5 matches on this card right now, and we will start off with the Unholy Union. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn versus Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair for the Women's Tag Team Championships. Jason, who do you got?
Fuck. You
knew the question was coming.
Nah, just hoping you were going to go to Zach first. No fucking clue. I'll take Bianca and Jade. I'll drop points, but I mean, I don't care. I just don't care. I mean, the current tag title champs don't make me care.
Hard-hitting analysis you turn into Van from Ringside. Zach, who do you got?
You got it 5 minutes ago.
I want to say Bianca and Jade, but I think that Fire and Dawn retain here. I think they're going to do something to split up Jade and Bianca, and they're going to do some singles program or something to lead into the Royal Rumble. And maybe they just kind of start, fizzing at the edges, and then they're both in the Women's Royal Rumble. One of them eliminates the other, the whole thing. Anyway.
I think if we get a Jade and Bianca breakup, I think it's going to come a little bit later. I think they win here, and I think they have a somewhat dominant 3-month reign. And then, I think that we're getting Bianca and Jade at WrestleMania. I just think it's too early to start the split if you're going to do that. I mean, WrestleMania is 7 months away. So up next, we have the Terror Twins versus the Judgment Day, represented by Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan.
Yikes.
Zach,
Terror Twins are bad.
Zach, I'll let you go first here.
I'm going to go with the Terror Twins, aptly named because whenever I see Rhea Ripley or when I see Damian Priest, I can hardly tell them apart. And it's so, the resemblance is so uncanny that it's scary, and I'm full of terror.
God damn, you ain't shit. Unfucking believable.
I, too, am taking the Terror Twins. Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley both just had big losses. Dominic and Liv can certainly lose here, especially with it not being for Liv's title. There's just, it's the Terror Twins. It's not my Stone Cold Led by Block of the Week, though.
It's not mine either, as a matter of fact. I agree with you guys. I think that ultimately, I think this is Rhea pinning Liv to get a rematch. If you didn't want to do the automatic rematch, you do it like this and have Rhea pin Liv. So I'll go with the Terror Twins.
Up next, we have in a strap match, my favorite type of gimmick match.
Double it down, my nigga.
CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre. I will go first here. Why am I going first? I don't know who I'm going to pick here.
I'll go first.
I'm going to pick Punk. It would be really surprising here if Drew McIntyre went over. So I'm taking Punk. Jason, who you got?
I agree. I think this is where Punk, for lack of a better term, gets his lick back. Not too impressed with CM Punk using the strap. Clearly, he was not beaten as a child, so he does not know how to use one. All that being said, I would love.
He could have used a couple beatings as a child.
CM Punk does not strike me as the type that's ever, was not really reined in as a child.
The discipline definitely wasn't there. I would love to see Drew win this, just to, kind of really even the odds, because obviously Punk screwed him over multiple times. This will be Drew's, multiple licks back, but story feels like it should be Punk, so we'll let Punk get this one.
Zach, who you got?
Yeah, I've got Punk. It is funny that we have two feuds going on about beaded jewelry in the WWE right now.
It really is pretty fucking goofy. Then we have Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens for the Undisputed Universal Championship. I'll go first here. I'm taking Cody. Who you got, Zach?
Stone Cold Red Pipe Block of the Week, Cody.
Jason?
What he said, Stone Cold Red Pipe Lock of the Week.
Now, I think that this could end in a handshake, or it could end with a KO heel turn. We could get a KO heel turn on SmackDown, I guess. I don't see that happening. But
I like 3 beers. KO turns heel until the bloodline shows up and he helps Cody. I like that idea. That feels a little more like something that could possibly happen. If KO turns heel, I would love to see that. It's been a while since we've seen KO just run rampant over some, poor unsuspecting baby faces. I'll be down for that. But either way, I think this should be a good match.
And then finally
I gotta say, this is off topic, but my wife just came in the bedroom and she had cupping done today, and she looks like Will Ospreay in the middle of a G1. She's got just like cupping marks all up and down her back. Like a professional athlete.
Michael Phelps. And then
Zach, thanks for coming by, man. We'll talk to you. We get it. Totally understand.
Yeah, just go ahead and just give you a last pick right now. We'll wrap it up from there.
And then finally, we have Gunther versus Randy Orton for the men's heavyweight championship, World Heavyweight Championship, or whatever it's called, over on Raw. Zach, who you got?
Gunther.
Jason?
Yeah, I'm taking the ring general, but I'm really looking forward to this match.
I am taking Gunther, and I am taking this as my Stone Cold Lead Pipe Lock of the Week. It's going to be fun to see Gunther get cheered, assuming he gets cheered.
Yeah, I was going to say, is he going to get cheered? I don't know about that. That's not a slam dunk. Motherfuckers love to see Randy Orton's fucking song.
I think everybody except Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio are getting cheered on this card.
Nigga. You ain't even lying.
I mean, I'm looking at it. He's right. I mean, I can see the Unholy Union getting cheers
too.
Just because
they're
European.
Totally. I'm excited. I'm not gonna go as far as to say like when you said all of the smaller, I guess, pay-per-views should be across the seas. But I will say these pay-per-views.
What's the downside?
I don't think there really is one, honestly. That's just me being, the get off my lawn guy. So just let me have that for 30 seconds. I will say,
USA.
so you saw how they keeping the Big Four home next year, right? I will say I do look forward to the fans. I look forward to their reactions, and each match feels like it's a different match because their investment level is different. They're into it. It's just, some matches obviously more vested than others, but it should be an amazing environment again.
All right, looking forward to that. Any other odds and ends? New Japan Capital Collision coming up.
Yeah, Miss CEO versus Momo Watanabe is interesting. I would like to see a bounce back match from Mercedes. Momo is a very good opponent. She can go, so that I would be curious to see that match. That's the only match I've heard from the Capital Collision portion of the program. But yeah, I'll be interested to see the card itself and that match in particular.
Zach, any odds and ends? Anybody die that we're forgetting about?
You guys talked about Kevin Sullivan the other day, so yeah.
No, we didn't talk about Kevin Sullivan.
Pretty much booked his own divorce whenever he was feuding with Chris Benoit, and they had Nancy Sullivan, who was his wife. He had her start traveling with Benoit to maintain kayfabe because it was the 90s and there was still a lot of that going on, and they fell in love, and eventually he murdered her. So, yeah, bummer deal that was probably maybe the worst booking decision of all time retroactively.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
I guess I could get off the Booker T should have won at WrestleMania heel on that point. Fine, motherfucker, fine.
Really is.
Oh my God.
Is it worse than Katie Vick? Well, anyway, from death to life, we got some birthdays this week.
Oh my God.
until we find out he's not.
Jeff Hardy is 47 years old. Mickey James is 45. Athena is 36. Bam Bam Bigelow,
R.I.P.
would have been 63. TJP is 40. Karma, what was Karma's? Oh, Awesome Kong. Karma / Awesome Kong is 47. Did she make up being pregnant? Is that what they found out?
I think so. It sounds
She
right.
went out and cut a promo about being pregnant, but she made it up.
Yeah, I think it sounds right to get out of the WWE contract. I feel like that's a thing, like legitimately a thing.
Don't look at me. Don't look at me. She told me to say nothing.
Stop.
Talk about successful.
Don't say shit.
Talk about successful angle. I mean, I'm still talking about it.
Yes, ma'am.
And then Xavier Woods is 38 years old.
Yo, boy.
Hey, everybody. We know there's tons of podcasts to listen to, so we appreciate you guys listening to our podcast. For Tinder Mahal, buy some tickets to From Dusk Till Dawn 2 at popsrocks.com. For Lucha Chris, for Murray the Murray Man Murray, for Patriot Pat, for Brett Jagger, for Vice, for Zach Pullman, for Jason Cornelius Bell.
Kitty twa bitches.
I am Bill Vagey. Remember that Black Lives Matter. Support your local weed dealers. Support your local restaurants.
Double check.
Give your parents a call. Free Palestine.
Triple check.
And never, ever forget to boo the heels. Boo!